Administrative law is the invisible backbone of government. It defines how public power is exercised and how citizens can challenge it. Every country has agencies that issue permits, enforce regulations, and make decisions affecting people's rights. This lesson introduces 20 essential terms that explain how government decisions are made, reviewed, and controlled under the rule of law. By mastering these words, you'll understand how the state balances efficiency, fairness, and accountability in public administration. If you want to confidently discuss regulation, compliance, and government decisions in English, join our Legal English community. You'll practice real administrative law scenarios, from filing appeals to analyzing judicial review cases. Each week, we meet live with lawyers and students across the world, building fluency through real examples and live sessions. Start improving your professional communication today and learn to navigate the language of public law with confidence. Administration is the practical side of governance, where written law becomes lived experience. Our example: public administration ensures the implementation of laws and regulation. This term covers the entire machinery of government: ministries, agencies, and officials responsible for enforcing rules and providing public services. From issuing business permits to collecting taxes, administration is what keeps societies functioning day by day. It connects citizens with the state through systems of accountability and service delivery. In legal English, understanding administration means recognizing how power operates, not in theory, but in the daily execution of policy under the rule of law. An agency is a specialized government body that applies, enforces, and interprets laws within a defined area. For example, the Environmental Protection Agency enforces environmental standards nationwide. Agencies exist because modern life is too complex for legislatures to manage every detail. They focus on specific issues: finance, health, labor, environment, and operate under powers delegated by statute. Agencies draft regulations, conduct inspections, and impose sanctions when the law is violated. They bridge the gap between government and society by translating policy into concrete action, often balancing expertise, efficiency, and fairness, in theory. Regulations are the lifeblood of administrative law, detailed rules that guide how laws are applied in practice. For example, financial regulations protect consumers and maintain fair markets. While legislatures set broad principles, agencies issue regulations to define standards and procedures. For example, a data protection law may authorize an agency to create specific rules on how companies handle personal information. Regulations give predictability and consistency, turning legal policy into practical obligations. Without them, enforcement would be uncertain and arbitrary. The legal system's daily rhythm depends on clear, well-drafted regulations. Rulemaking is the process that transforms legislative intent into enforceable detail. For example, public consultation is a vital part of the rulemaking process. Agencies draft proposed rules, publish them for public comment, and then finalize them after reviewing stakeholder feedback. This process ensures transparency, allowing citizens and industries to voice concerns before regulations take effect. Rulemaking bridges democracy and administration, balancing technical expertise with public participation. It also creates a written record that courts can later review, ensuring agencies remain accountable to the principles of fairness and reason. Delegated legislation allows governments to respond quickly and efficiently to new challenges. Our example says the minister issued delegated legislation on workplace safety standards. Here, Parliament or Congress sets the framework, but it delegates the authority to create detailed rules to ministries or agencies. This flexibility is crucial. Lawmakers can't predict every future scenario. However, delegation comes with responsibility. Rules must stay within the boundaries of the enabling statute. If an agency exceeds its power, its actions can be declared invalid. Delegated legislation embodies the balance between efficiency and legal control in modern governance. Authority is what makes a decision lawful. Our example says the agency acted within its authority when imposing the penalty. Every administrative act must be grounded in legal authority, a statute, regulation, or delegation that authorizes the action. Without it, even well intentioned decisions become unlawful. Authority defines the boundaries of government power and protects citizens from arbitrary action. In practice, lawyers constantly examine whether officials had the authority to act because legitimacy in administrative law begins and ends with proper authorization. Discretion gives human judgment to government power. Our example states the inspector used her discretion to issue a warning instead of a fine. Not every rule can cover every situation, so officials often decide how to apply the law. Discretion allows flexibility and fairness, but it also carries the risk of abuse. When exercised reasonably, discretion brings justice to individual cases. When abused, it invites judicial correction. Lawyers must understand both sides. Discretion gives life to administration, but law gives its limits. Due process is the foundation of fairness in all law, and especially administrative law. Our example states the company was fined without due process or a fair hearing. It means that before the government takes action, such as revoking a license or imposing a penalty, the affected party must have notice and an opportunity to respond. Due process protects against arbitrary decisions and ensures transparency in every administrative procedure. For lawyers, it's a universal principle that transcends systems and languages. No one should lose rights or property without fair treatment under law. Notice is the starting point of fairness in public administration. For example, the agency gave notice of the new environmental regulation. It ensures that citizens, businesses, or organizations know what actions may affect them, whether it's a new role, a pending sanction, or a hearing date. Without proper notice, any administrative action can be challenged as invalid. In procedural law, giving timely, clear notice reflects respect for both transparency and participation, the core values of governance. A hearing is where administration meets accountability. Our example, the applicant was granted a hearing to contest the license suspension. Hearing allows individuals to defend their rights before the government acts. They may involve oral arguments, witness testimony, or written submissions. Even in administrative systems, hearings must be impartial, transparent, and guided by clear procedure. They embody the principle that government power should always listen before it decides, giving every citizen a fair voice in the process. A record is the written memory of administrative justice. For example, The judge reviewed the administrative record before issuing the ruling. It includes applications, correspondence, evidence, reports, and the agency's final decision. The record serves as the foundation for transparency and accountability. Everything must be traceable. When a decision is challenged in court, the record reveals whether the agency acted fairly and rationally. In many systems, what's not in the record doesn't exist. For lawyers, maintaining a complete record is essential. It protects both clients and the integrity of the administrative process. An administrative decision is where government power becomes personal. It changes someone's legal situation. For example, the agency's administrative decision revoked the company's export license. These decisions can grant, refuse, or withdraw permissions, impose fines, or interpret regulations. Because they affect real people and businesses, every decision must follow legal procedure, provide reasons, and respect due process. Even small administrative decisions carry weight. They represent the state's voice acting on behalf of the public. For lawyers, analyzing whether a decision was lawful and reasonable is the first step in any administrative appeal or judicial review. An administrative appeal is the internal check on government action. Our example states the applicant filed an administrative appeal against the denial of benefits. Before going to court, individuals can often appeal within the agency or to a supervising ministry. This process allows errors to be corrected quickly without full judicial proceedings. It's also a sign of procedural fairness. No authority should act as the final judge of its own mistakes. Administrative appeals strengthen trust in public institutions by providing remedies that are efficient, inexpensive, and accessible to all citizens. Judicial review is the cornerstone of the rule of law in public administration. For example, the court granted judicial review of the agency's decision. Through this process, judges don't replace the decision but ensure that the agency acted lawfully, fairly, and within its authority. Courts check for errors such as bias, unreasonable discretion, or lack of due process. Judicial review keeps the balance of power intact, reminding governments that no one, not even an agency, stands above the law. The Ombudsman is the public's guardian against bureaucratic injustice. For example, the citizen filed a complaint with the Ombudsman about unfair treatment. Ombudsmen are independent. They don't represent the government or the courts. They listen to citizens, investigate complaints, and recommend solutions when public authorities act unfairly or inefficiently. Although they can't always change decisions, their reports promote transparency and accountability. For lawyers and citizens alike, the Ombudsman embodies access to justice, a bridge between people and the power that governs them. A sanction enforces compliance by consequence. For example, the company faced a sanction for breaching environmental regulations. Sanctions can take many forms: fines, license suspensions, or restrictions on future activities. They serve two goals: correcting the violation and deterring future misconduct. However, sanctions must be proportionate and legally justified. For administrative lawyers, the key question is always the same: did the authority follow proper procedure before imposing the sanction? Only then does enforcement remain legitimate in the eyes of the law. Licensing is how governments control access to certain professions or activities. Our example states, the restaurant applied for a new operating license from the health authority. Licenses ensure that those who handle sensitive goods or public services, such as medicine, food, or finance, meet established standards. They protect public safety and maintain trust in regulated industries. At the same time, denying or revoking a license can have serious economic effects, which is why licensing must always follow fair and transparent procedures. Compliance means following the rules, not out of fear, but as part of responsible governance. For example, the company created a compliance program to meet data protection laws. In administrative law, compliance ensures that businesses, public bodies, and individuals all meet legal obligations. Modern compliance systems include risk assessments, internal audits, and ethics training. Strong compliance not only prevents penalties, but builds public trust. It's the everyday expression of legality, proving that good administration begins with respect for the law. Public interest is the moral compass of administrative law. Our example states the agency balanced business concerns with the public interest in environmental protection. Every government action, issuing permits, imposing sanctions, approving projects, should ultimately serve the community's well being. But defining the public interest is often complex. Economic growth, health, safety, and sustainability may all compete. Lawyers and judges constantly weigh these factors to ensure that the public interest is pursued within legal boundaries. It is the principle that reminds us law exists not for power, in theory, but for the people. Transparency turns power into accountability. For example, transparency laws require agencies to publish their decisions online. It allows citizens to know how and why decisions are made, building confidence in public institutions. Transparency laws mandate open meetings, public access to documents, and clear explanations of administrative actions. When governments hide information, mistrust and inefficiency grow. For lawyers, transparency isn't just an ethical value, it's a procedural safeguard ensuring that law remains visible, explainable, and reviewable by all. Now, let's look at a story putting it all together. Within the administration, an agency issues a new regulation under delegated legislation. Acting within its authority and using lawful discretion, the agency gives notice and holds a hearing to ensure due process. All materials form the record, leading to an administrative decision to revoke a company's license. The company files an administrative appeal, but the outcome is the same. Finally, it seeks judicial review, arguing that the agency ignored the public interest and failed to ensure transparency. Meanwhile, the Ombudsman investigates complaints about unfair treatment, and regulators issue a sanction for noncompliance. This story captures the rhythm of administrative law, how governments act, citizens respond, and the rule of law maintains balance between power and accountability. You have now mastered 20 essential terms that define how governments make and review decisions, from rulemaking and licensing to judicial review and transparency. Administrative law is where policy, procedure, and justice meet, the system that ensures power is exercised responsibly. In our legal English community, you'll practice these terms in real context in the self-study course as well as live sessions. Join today to refine your professional communication, deepen your understanding of global legal systems, and develop the language skills that bring clarity to complex regulation. Learn to speak the language of law and of good governance.